Welcome to the Free to SOAR podcast. My mission is to inspire, empower, and equip heart-centered, mission-driven, kingdom-minded business owners to show up freely and fully as the brilliant, powerful change makers that you are, so that you can lead the business and the life of your dreams. You'll enjoy vulnerable, authentic conversations with me and other heart-centered, mission-driven leaders that will spark your heart and ignite your passion to powerfully transform you, your business, and your life from the inside out. Your next level of impact and income is about unleashing the fullness of you, reprogramming your limiting beliefs and patterns, tapping into and trusting your inner wisdom, and harnessing God's power within you so that you can unlock new possibilities in your business and your life. And this show brings it to you. Step with me into a God-powered reality wilder than your wildest dreams, with freedom, impact, abundance, and enjoyment that you were created for. Let's go. So welcome to the Free to SOAR podcast. I'm Connie Jones, your host, and I'm glad you're back with us. Today, we're going to be talking about blasting your limiting beliefs to get out of your own way. Because here's the situation, or here's the deal. Our business revenue, our growth and our success, period, is limited by our business constraints. And a business constraint is a force that every business must face in order to grow. Every business has constraints. But the most mature and the most successful businesses are the ones that minimize their constraints, or another word for constraint is limitation. And the good news is, with the right strategic approach, business constraints can actually be helpful to the growth and the success of your business by giving you a framework to innovate and to open to new resources and new possibilities, which I love to talk about. And the first constraint that we're going to dive into today of every business, the greatest constraint of every business, is you as the leader of the business. You are the greatest constraint, period, in your business and in your life, because we just cannot get out of our own way. We can, but oftentimes we don't know how. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're wired to be really good at surviving, to stay safe from possible threats and possible dangers or perceived dangers. But we aren't created to merely struggle and survive and strive and stress. That's not the life that we were created for. We were made to thrive in the freedom and the fullness of who we are, and to live and lead aligned with our purpose, our passion, our desires, our joy, our values, and to unleash our full potential, which is limitless, and to express our essence, our gifts, our strengths, and our purpose. We're made as divine, infinite beings. We're reflections of God, and we have access within us and around us to everything that we need to thrive in the life of freedom, impact, fulfillment, and abundance. And we were made to develop and grow into the highest, most expanded version of ourselves and unleash all the potential within us and be supported by the abundance of resources and the wisdom within us and around us. But what happens, that's the way it was intended. But what happens is that we stay stuck in survival mindsets, patterns, programs, and conditioning of our nervous system, energy conditioning, and the reality that each of us is living, and the reality that we're creating in our everyday, in our business, and in our life in every area, is determined by what we believe, by our mental and emotional programming, by our behavior patterns, and by our nervous system conditioning that we've learned from our upbringing, from our environment, from our experiences, from even our traumas. And we live most of our lives as this programmed, limited self who's really good at staying safe and comfortable and in certainty. But what that actually means is that we spend most of our lives convincing ourselves that we're the opposite of who we really are. And we hide our magic. We dilute our power. We lock up our potential, and we limit possibilities for what's available to us, because we are programmed and we are habituated to survive, and we're run by our survival brain, and we get really good at it. So we run by the survival self, which is a limited version of our true self. I call this survival self our ego, which is actually, ego means edging God out. It is that survival self. It's the part of us. I want you to get this. Think about this for yourself. It's the part of you that sees limitation. It's the part of you that's rooted in fear, uncertainty, doubt, unworthiness, and lack. It's the part of you that lives according to whatever you've learned along the way that you learn to gain love and acceptance in. It's the part of you that keeps you safe and alive against dangers and threats. But it also creates disharmony and imbalance and dis-ease and misalignment. It's the part of you that associates pain and fear of changing rather than the pain of staying where you are. It's a negative voice that you hear when thinking of stepping out into the unfamiliar, even when it's toward your vision and your dream. It's the voice of your scared, wounded child inside that needs healing. Your ego, your survival self, is easily triggered and it reacts to things from emotion. It convinces you that you are the way you are because of the circumstances and the cards that you've been dealt. It's locked into the past and it's constantly worried about the future. Your ego is a great negotiator. It convinces you to back out and back up from new things and from courageous decisions. And it's disconnected from God. It's disconnected from his supernatural power and from your own inner wisdom and the Holy Spirit in you. Your ego is highly reactive to things because it's afraid to lose and let go of anything. It's holding on to everything it can because it's surviving. It's holding on to, grasping tightly to whatever it can, afraid to relinquish control. It functions from a dysregulated nervous system, from fear, urgency, reactivity, threat, anxiety. It convinces you of anything that leads you away from your dream life because it deems your dream life and your dream business unsafe, uncertain, and it reminds you that you are unworthy of it. And the limiting beliefs and the patterns that your survival self, this part of you, repeats are hard to release and they're hard to stop because the ego part of us believes that we can't survive without those same beliefs and patterns because they've allowed us to survive up to this point and even succeed up to a certain point. But at some point, they're not allowing us to move beyond that lid, that limitation. And so, but we're afraid, as much as we know it's not working for us, what we're doing currently or what we're believing currently, we're afraid to release it and believe and do something else because our very survival depends on it, according to our ego. Does that sound familiar? You recognize that part of you? That ego, that survival self, is the you that is limiting your potential and is limiting the potential of your business. It's keeping the lid on you. It's allowing you to continue to get in your own way because you're playing it safe, because you're avoiding pain, you think, or you're avoiding fear. But actually what you're creating is the very thing that you think you're avoiding. So how are you hindering your business's growth and success because you're living in your own survival patterns, programs, and conditioning? Do you even know? You're so used to it at this point, you probably don't know. But how do you need to get out of your own way so your business can grow into its capacity, into the fullness of its capacity? I'm going to share several of mine with you and several that I've seen many of my clients along the way have struggled with. And so a couple of my survival patterns of being and believing and doing and habits, conditioning were these. For one, being a doing instead of a being. I lived out of fear, unworthiness, and I was programmed to believe that I had to do it all to make things happen for myself, that I couldn't trust that things would happen for me, that I had to make them happen. And I was told, that whole belief that I was programmed to believe that wasn't going to happen if I didn't make it happen, right? It was up to me. It was going to be, it was up to me. And that's that whole performance mindset. So I also learned that I had to brace myself against the worst possible case scenario happening all the time, that I had to manage everything and stay on top of things constantly, to control everything, to grasp so tightly to things. And that was exhausting, but I didn't know any other way to do it. And I was afraid to let go of that. I believed that people pleasing was the answer, that I had to take care, that I had to caretake everybody else to make sure that I would have what I needed as a result, that I had to please in order to get what the opportunities that I needed and be successful. That I had to stay busy to avoid my own anxiety and my own fear of missing out, of not doing enough, of not being enough. Do you relate to any of these? I had a hard driving, critical inner persecutor and punisher that drove me, that continued to reinforce this belief that I had to work extra hard to overcome my own inadequacies. I had that scarcity mindset that there was not enough, that there was always somebody to compete with, something I had to prove all the time, that I wasn't supported, so that I had to do it all myself, that I couldn't depend on anybody to do it for me, that there wasn't enough support, that that it was just all up to me. And that's just exhausting. And I could go on and on and on about all the programming that I was that allowed me to survive really well and to succeed up to a certain point, but was no longer at some point allowing me to lift the lid on the limitation that I was under, and I felt stuck there. Do you know why? Do you know what's under why you do the things that you do? Have you ever really questioned the beliefs that you have? Have you ever really paid attention to how your nervous system is programmed? Are you in constant reactivity? Are you in constant urgency all the time? Does it feel like you have to be in constant protection because it feels like everything's the shoe's about to drop and there's fear constantly? Do you feel like are you always in a mindset of lack? Does it feel like there's never enough? Do you struggle constantly? Do you feel like everything just feels hard, way harder than it should be? Why are things so hard? Have you ever questioned that? Because God didn't create them to be that way. Yes, they're going to be. We live in a broken world. There's darkness. We're going to have to battle. But we battle not in our own strength. And life shouldn't be a constant battle. It shouldn't be a constant struggle and a survival. We were created to thrive and live victoriously over these obstacles and these strongholds and these struggles. So why isn't your reality matching the one that God promises you and the one that wants to flow in for you? Why isn't it matching the one that you yearn for? Well, I can tell you this, it's not because you've done it all wrong, and it's not because you're being punished, and it's not because God is withholding from you. That's the lie that we've believed for all the time, right? That's the lie that started it all in the garden in the first place. It's not because you're being punished. It's not because God's withholding. It's not because any of those lies that you believe. It's because your ego programmed self is running you, and it's habituated in you, and we live from our programmed limited self, and we never stop to question why. And why not? Why do I believe this? Why is this my reality? Who said this is the way it has to be? How am I participating in remaining my reality? What limiting beliefs and patterns are really keeping me stuck? I want you to think about those questions and start to question. We all know the importance of reprogramming and bursting through these limiting beliefs, but honestly, it can feel daunting. It can feel impossible and overwhelming. And we don't know where to start. We don't know how to begin to break through, how to change it. We stay stuck in urgency, busyness, reactivity for so much of the time, and we don't even realize that we're stuck, and we don't realize what's causing the stuckness and the limitation. We're just so comfortable, and it feels familiar, and it feels safe, and we convince ourselves that busy is productive, that trying hard and working hard and doing more is productive, and that brings us value. So we just keep doing the same old thing and expecting a different result, and it doesn't happen. And then we get discouraged and frustrated, and we feel even more stuck. Yet within us, I want you to hear this, within you, within me, is the ability to show up every day as our highest version of ourselves, made in God's image, with His Spirit empowering and guiding us. And we can leave behind our survival patterns and programs and our mechanisms that no longer serve us. We just have to learn how to do that. And it's actually not as hard as you think. What's hard is the survival struggle that you've been staying in up to this point. Changing that takes a little bit of work, but it actually is a whole lot easier than you think. And that's what I love helping people to do. We can learn to access and develop strong inner resources to help us transform into the higher version of ourselves and create the business and the life that we want to live with the freedom, the ease, the enjoyment, and the abundance that we were made for. And that's exactly what I teach and coach my clients how to do in my coaching programs, to access, to expand, and to empower your inner resources to create powerful internal transformation that translates into amazing external changes. So you can unleash your limitless potential, to do the hard, the scary things with courage and empowerment, to learn how to access wisdom and resources that produce supernatural miracles. I teach you how to do that, how to live that way, how to open to new possibilities and how to maximize your potential, how to connect to your dreams and to your desires and open to receive the more that God has for you, how to live and lead from your worthiness, from your centered, empowered, God-connected you, and how to activate your inner coach and your wise guide, and recognize and powerfully shift and repattern and reprogram old limiting beliefs and behaviors so that you can begin to create your dream life and your business intuitively and intentionally. Yet again, I know that feels hard. I know you might have tried a whole lot of other ways to do that. You might have tried everything that you know to do for yourself. You might have had other coaches that have taught you a strategy or a formula in trying to do that. And maybe it hasn't worked for you, but I don't want you to give up hope, because there is a way, and I'll teach you how. It's believing more, though, of the same programming that, and believing more of that same disheartened, discouraging hopelessness that is going to continue to keep you in the hard and the struggle. And we've got to begin to change that. We've got to stop believing that we are the constraint, but we're not the problem. And there's very different, that's a very different statement. It's that limited thinking, believing that you're the problem, believing that you've done it all wrong, believing that you're never going to get it, that is keeping you as the constraint. Because within you is the power to shift and transform. Within you are the answers that you need. Within you is the magic. Within you is pure divine God power. Within you is everything you need, all the wisdom, all the resources. We just have to unlock it and unleash it. We have to allow you or teach you how to step into that you that's already the next version of you and realize your unlimited potential so that you can create new possibilities and watch new opportunities and new things flow into your reality. And I want to start helping you do that today in a very kind, in a very loving, and even easeful way, because I believe that's how we're created. We are powerful beings. We're magical beings, God in us, not by ourselves, but Him in us. And we can create powerful shifts when we awaken to new truths and open to new possibilities. And I want to give you an easy start to help you identify and break free from what's stopping you, from who you were made to be, and show up fully and freely and open to what wants to flow to you with ease and enjoyment that aligns with your unique plan and purpose and wiring. I love powerful questions, and because curiosity is a powerful energy, and curiosity gets us into our subconscious. Powerful questions lead us into our subconscious thinking, which is where those old patterns and those programs are stored. And our subconscious actually runs 95% of our life. Whether we want to believe that or not, it does. And it's where we need to focus and see what is programmed in us and see what is running us and driving us so we can clear out the old limited stuff and replace it with empowering, expanding truth that produces new realities. So we can begin to see those show up in our external reality. So here's my powerful question for you today. What do you really want in your business and your life that you don't believe is 100% possible for you? Just stop and breathe that in. And I want you to spend some time with that question. Spend some time journaling about that question. Spend some time writing everything down exhaustively that comes to your mind about what you really want that you don't believe is 100% possible. Because I'll tell you what happens when you do. The truth is, well, let me say this first. I want you to know this, that dream, that desire in your heart is not wrong. That desire that you want in your heart is not being withheld from you. That desire, that dream in your heart is aligned with your purpose and your destiny. It's aligned with, if it's aligned with your authentic self, if it is who you were made to be. Now, I don't believe that we can create anything that we want, because I don't believe we were intended to. I believe that we can if it's in alignment with God's will for us, if it's in alignment with his plan for us, if it's in alignment with our purpose and our passion. But I do believe that God protects us oftentimes from things that are not going to bring us joy and are not in most alignment with us, with who we really are, because he doesn't want us to harm ourselves. But if you've got a deep desire that pulls you in, that you just can't get away from, that feels aligned, that excites you, that's life-giving to you, that is who you were made to be, and maybe it doesn't feel possible, but you just can't get away from it, and it's yours to bring into the world. But you don't know how it's going to happen, and you don't believe it's 100% possible. Then there's the telltale sign that there's a limiting belief present. Now, it is important to get clear and honest about what you really want and what truly aligns with your gifts, your purpose, and your wiring. What will truly lead you into freedom, ease, and enjoyment. What's most aligned with you, because not everything is and not everything will be, just like I told you. And God's best for you is in alignment with the real you, the authentic you, and it will produce peace and joy and fulfillment. That's how you know when it's in alignment. But when you're really clear on what that really is, on what that desire is, then you ask yourself, do I believe that's 100% possible for me? Then that's a limiting belief that's blocking that from happening for you. And those are the limiting beliefs that we need to clear out and repattern and reprogram. And the good news is that we can. For example, here are a few of them that you may have. I know that some of these I've struggled with. Some of these are my very limiting beliefs. And some of them you may identify with also. That I desire to have that freedom business I really want. And I know what it could look like, but I don't really believe it's possible for me. I desire to really do the work that I want to do that lights me up, but I don't believe that's really possible for me to make that shift. I believe that I am intended to have expanded influence in speaking and teaching, and that I really want to move into doing my work in a different way. And I want to have a more visibility and a voice, a louder voice, a more powerful voice. But I don't believe that's possible for me. Maybe it's about working with the clients you feel led to work with and that excite you the most, but you don't believe that's possible for you. Maybe it's the next level of revenue that will allow you to do the work that you love or have the impact and the freedom that you want in your life, but you don't believe that's possible for you. Stop and write it down. What are your true desires? And are they really desires, or are they what you think you have to have or should want, etc.? But once you get clear on what your true desires are, ask yourself, do you believe it's 100% possible? And if not, what is the belief? What is that limiting belief about that not being possible for you? Why do you believe it's not going to happen for you? You may have to dig deep here, and you may have several. And you need to maybe look at what you want in life too, and not just in your business, and do the same for that. Look at your marriage. What do you believe about having the marriage that you want, the relationship that you want, the podcast that you want, people paying a certain amount for your services? What's underneath that? Is that the imposter? Is it a belief that is keeping you protected because making more money actually feels a little threatening to you because of who you may think you have to become or how you may be judged, or what's underneath that? So again, the question is, do you believe it's 100% possible, your desires? And if not, Dive into what are those limiting beliefs that are reinforcing the fact that it's not possible for you. And really take a look at how those are keeping you limited. And then don't judge or condemn them, just gently notice them. And now, here's what we're going to do to clear and program them. First of all, we're going to first recognize what is the belief. That's important. Again, don't judge or condemn, just recognize. Recognize what it is. Get clear on it. What is that limiting belief? What are you believing that's keeping you stuck there? What are you believing is keeping that limitation and that lid on you? Secondly, where'd you learn it? And you don't have to know exactly. You may know a little bit about that. Just know see what comes up. Where could you have learned that? Notice where you feel it in your body. And really get in touch with that feeling in your body. Notice it. How true does it feel? On a scale of 1 to 10. The fifth thing, how is it serving you to hold on to that belief? Does it feel safe? Does it feel secure? Does it just feel familiar? Or what else? What else is there? How is it serving? You wouldn't hold on to it if it didn't serve you in some way. So how is it serving you to hold on to it? What fear do you have in releasing it? Think about that. How does it feel scary to release it? Remember that ego self wants to hold on to everything because it believes it needs it to survive. But your higher self knows that you don't need that to survive anymore. It's actually holding you back. So ask yourself this question. What are the consequences of holding on to it? If you, this time next year, have not released that belief, what's the consequence of that? Where are you going to be this time next year if you don't backblast this belief and really begin to get some freedom and some breakthrough from those same old patterns and programs? Where will you be if you keep believing it and holding on to it? Look at the reality of that. And then ask yourself, is that true? One of my mentors always asks me, is that so? Really, Connie? Is that so? Is that really true? And I want you to ask yourself, that belief that I've held on to all this time, that I was programmed, it's been habituated, it might even have proved true in my life, but is it really true? Is that what God says about me? Is that what God says about this reality? Why is that true for me and not others? And then ask yourself, what else could be true? What could you open to? What could you be curious about? What could be possible for you? What else could be possible? And how could that feel safe and hopeful and promising? How could that new truth, that new reality, if you held on to it and you reinforced it, and it's going to take some time to do that, but how could it feel life-giving and expanding for you? Instead of feeling the danger of it, instead of feeling the threat and focusing on that, go to the fun and the enjoyment and the expansion of it, because that's what we were made for. We were made to create from enjoyment. We were created for enjoyment. We were made to create from enjoyment. So ask yourself, wouldn't it be fun if I could have that freedom business? Wouldn't it be fun if I could do the work that would light me on fire? And what would it look like? And how would that be fun for my clients? And how would that be fun for everybody in my life if I was a happier me and a better me and a more expanded me? And how could I level everybody else around me? So how is it really serving me to continue to hold on to this thing that it's not working for me anymore, or anybody else for that matter? Begin to envision, begin to embrace, begin to embody your highest self. Who is that highest you? Who is that God-connected, God-reflected, magically brilliant, expanded version of you in all the fullness and the freedom and the brilliance of who you are? And open to the new possibilities. What does the voice of love say about that new reality for you? Why would it be good for you and good for everybody around you for you to actually have that and embrace that new reality? What is possible for you that then opens new possibilities for others around you? And can you begin to embody Feel it in your body and allow the feeling of that new reality to permeate you instead of the old limiting one. Can you begin to allow it to energetically, can you feel that in your body as truth? Can you just take the risk to do that? Can you release the old one and allow it to disperse and allow the new energy and the new possibility to flow in freely? What could that feel like? Breathe that in for just a minute. Feel that in the heart of you. Feel that in your body. Can you open to receive that, even though it's new and uncomfortable? Can you do it afraid? Can you do it with uncomfortableness? And can you practice that new reality and envision that new you, embody that you, allow that reality? And you don't have to know how. That's what stops us. You get to invite it and you get to allow it to flow in. You just get to no longer block it because you no longer need to protect yourself or keep yourself safe because it's no longer a threat. And if you let love in rather than fear continue to protect you, how would your reality shift? Think about that. If you let love in, flow in and through you and into your life, rather than fear protecting you, which it's really not, how would your reality begin to shift? How could you expand? How much more enjoyable would that be? And know this, it may take deeper clearing for some beliefs and patterns. And again, I can teach you how to do that in my programs. You can get on my website. You can schedule a call. It's ConnieJonesCoach.com. You can schedule a call. We can discuss that more if you want to. If you're ready for bigger breakthroughs in business and life, you can also learn more about how to do this in 2 free workshops I have on demand that are also on my website. You can get instant access to them, reclaim your inheritance and create your freedom business. They're both. I'll put them in the show, links in the show notes, but they're also on my website, ConnieJonesCoach.com. And hopefully this has sparked some powerful inner transformation in you already. And you want to take this to the next level. But know this, your capacity to allow a certain amount of what you want and a certain amount of what God already says is yours and what he wants to give you, what he wants to flow in and through you, money, relationships, goodness, impact, influence, wealth, freedom. Your capacity to allow that is limited because of your programming and your beliefs. And we work together to clear it out, to clean it up, to align you with an empowered approach to unleash that already realized God self that lives within you. And the next level version of you with all your magic, all your power, your brilliance, your impact is waiting to come to fruition. And the wisdom, the answers, and the power are all inside of you. And the resources are waiting. They're available to you to bring into your reality too. And they're just waiting on you to open up to that. And it just starts with recognizing and clearing out the old stuff that keeps you stuck and weighs you down. Clearing out the clutter that's no longer serving you. So write out your heart's desires. Let what's stopping you come up. Ask yourself the powerful questions. Lean into what those limiting beliefs are. And then ask yourself those questions and get curious about what's possible besides what you've always believed, besides what you've always seen as your reality, and start to question it. Because it's all about envisioning and embodying that you that God already says is and has. And it's about beginning living from that you, him in you, reinforcing the voice of love, the new truth, and building that muscle, exercising that new truth instead of the old limiting one that's a lie, that's no longer serving you. And you can make that shift. And when you do, and you build that muscle and you create that new pattern, you will experience incredible internal changes. And as a result, you'll feel empowered to show up in your life and your business as who you really are and watch what you want flow freely to you with ease like never before. It's magical. It's a game changer, and I can't wait for you to experience the magic of it. And finally, awaken to how loved you really are right this minute. That's my prayer for you. Open up and receive how loved you really are and all that is possible. And I ask God to awaken that in you at a very real, intimate, personal level like never before. You are free to soar. So shine on, you precious warrior. Thanks for joining me today on the Free to Soar podcast, where we empower and equip you to lead the business and the life of your dreams with freedom, impact, enjoyment, and abundance. I look forward to our next episode together, and I invite you to subscribe to be notified of new episodes as they are released. Please share this or your favorite episode with a friend or a loved one, and I'd love it if you'd leave a review on iTunes and Spotify.